Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts.
Grogu.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Cinema Smoketography. I'm your friendly neighborhood hookahologist, Tommy Atomic Rodriguez, and we are talking about episode 5 of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and boy, oh boy, is it a lot. So I'm smoking out of the F-22, as you can kind of see here, smoking some Element lemongrass because I really do love this flavor. Just read up not too long ago, so this episode, I can't believe, man, there is so much going on in this episode. The Dave Filoni episode. Here's the reason why. The Dave Filoni episode is what people are calling it because Dave Filoni not only directed this episode, but Ahsoka Tano finally comes back. Rosario Dawson, as you already know, is Claire from Luke Cage, Daredevil, and all the Defender shows. Right, is Ahsoka Tano. I've been waiting to see her in live action for such a long time, and Bo-Katan came back a couple episodes ago. We get a nice couple reveals of what's going on, and we learn a lot about the child, or as you just kind of heard, Grogu is his name, right? So they're really breaking the Y categories here, you know, Yaddle, Yoda, Grogu. We finally got another name for the Yoda species, so that's actually pretty cool. So this episode, what can I say? It was a work of art. It was so good. It actually mirrored a lot of the first pilot episode of The Mandalorian. Oh, today's video unofficial sponsor, Tea Time, that magical time of the day where I spend more money on tea. Today we have a black tea here prepared by the homie, so thanks, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy, for that. And let's get started, shall we? I'm still in shock. Like, I watched it last night. I watched it again on lunch. I've been kind of watching it here and there when I got home while I was setting everything up, and wow, there is just a lot to watch in this episode, right? So let's kind of get started. You would think that bringing in Ahsoka Tano would be kind of like later in the episode, like Mando gets to the planet of, I think it was Corvus, right? The forest planet of Corvus. I could be wrong. Slips my mind. A lot's been going on today. So, yeah, that he gets there. The first thing we see is Ahsoka just being a full-blown badass, right? In the beginning of the episode. You can hear my cats running around. I mean, you know, I already know how they go, cats. Am I right, ladies? So she is now attacking an not an Imperial strong suit, but an Imperial base or town. Ahsoka is attacking Imperials that have taken over the town of Corvus on this planet. So, and it's actually super cool. She has her white lightsabers. For those of you who don't know who Ahsoka Tano is, she is Dave Filoni's character, who is Anakin Skywalker's apprentice in the Clone Wars TV show, and she is in Rebels as well as an more adult version to help the Rebels kind of stop the Empire. Right, one of the last few Jedi survivors that are around, because all we know right now, we know Cal Kestis is out there. I don't know if he survived through the reign of the Imperials. We have Luke Skywalker, obviously. We have Ahsoka Tano and just kind of a few others. Yoda was there at one point, but now he's gone at this point in time. Right, so she's one of the stronger Force users out there. I know that's not saying a lot because there's very few out there right now. But we have a lot to kind of unpack. We see Ahsoka just kind of taking out Imperials left and right, and she goes up to the new governor, right? And she's like, I need to know where your master is. Tell me now. And she, obviously the Empress is I think that's what they're calling her, right? Saying like, I'm not telling you anything. It's like, you have one day to give me the information I want, and she walks away. But what's really cool is how Ahsoka was fighting, because it was a really reminiscent of guerrilla warfare, right? Because she was kind of popping in and out, turning on her lightsabers, turning them off, cutting people down, and kind of going to and from places, right? So it was actually real skillful. Like, she was using the mist to her advantage to kind of dip in and out and kind of blocking blaster fire and cutting people down. So next we get to the next clip is Mando on the Laser Crest with Baby Yoda, trying to play with the toggle switch, and he's looking at the ball, right? The little ball, the little knob that we all know Baby Yoda really loves. So Mando is now talking to Baby Yoda. He's like, get back in your seat, we're about to land. Which is actually kind of cool because you can see that Grogu, or the child, actually listens to Mando, and he understands. Remember, he's not a baby. He's 50 years old. So the Yoda species in general kind of lives for a very long period of time. Yoda himself was about 900 years old before he passed, and he trained generations of Jedi. So Mando now gets the planet, lands the Laser Crest, and kind of walks into town. And this is where it's really cool that we see Mando kind of using his guild and bounty hunter status to kind of get into this town, because he walks up, he's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for work, I'm on a layover. Right? He's like, you work for the guild? I do. And he lets him in. So this is where you kind of see the parallels of the pilot episode. You see Mando is going into the town, and you can see it real dark and dim, that the Imperials are just kind of taking over, and everyone's real scared to kind of talk, and Mando tries to get information, people run away. And he sees the old governor talk about it. He tells some kids to go hide, and he's like, oh, I want to, like, don't talk to any of us, we're, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when Mando gets approached by the people in charge to have him talk to the person in charge. And this was actually, like, super, super villainy, right? The whole town is, like, in disarray, like, poverty looking, right? And then when he goes into the palace area, he sees that it's also really super nice, right? There's, like, a garden and everything. And you see the leader with a spear. Now, this spear is going to be very important very soon, right? So this is where Mando is looking. He's like, oh, I'm just looking for work. He's like, I got a job for you. Kill this Jedi. He's like, well, that's going to be kind of hard. And then they kind of pull on the touch. This is how you know people have an idea of what Mandalorians are to their relationship with the Jedi. Right? And he's like, well, I need you to kill a Jedi. That's going to be a hard task to do. But it is the ancient enemy of your people, is it not? And he's like, well, I come at a high price. And she pulls out the spear. He's like, touch this. So he walks over, smacks it on the Beskar armor, and it makes this ringing sound. And it's very, very, like, chimey. He's like, it's Beskar. Solid Beskar armor. Tell you what, you kill the Jedi, I give you this. And he's like, well, where can I find her? So this is where Mando kind of goes out to the forest and try to look for Ahsoka. Mando's now looking for Ahsoka and trying to figure out where she's at. And he puts Baby Yoda down and looks through a scope, and he sees these weird aliens. No, these real alien, like, elephant-like creatures. They're really tall. We don't have any description. They're very new. So we have never seen these aliens before, right? And as he's looking out, and this is where you can see the difference in skill sets that Ahsoka has for being probably close to her 40s now compared to Mando. And you can see that it is such a difference of skill sets, because Mando is now getting, I wouldn't say manhandled, but he's getting kind of mollywopped around a little bit. And you can see that Ahsoka knows how to fight Mandalorians, because she spent a lot of time with Bo-Katan. She's fought other Mandalorians in Death Watch in the Clone Wars, so she is using all of his weapons against them. When he hits her with the cable, she's caught, but she uses the Force, jumps over a tree, and kind of hangs him up. And he releases himself. He's like, hold on, wait. Bo-Katan sent me. Ahsoka, we need to talk. I've been sent to kind of talk to you. And she looks over him like, well, I'm assuming it's about him. And he's looking at Baby Yoda. She's looking at Baby Yoda. And he's like, I've been sent here to help him find the Jedi. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. We get the first big reveal. Oh, side note, is a little quick Easter egg. I completely forgot about this until right now. You actually see the owl that's supposed to be the sister from the Clone Wars. If you don't know who the sister is, there are three Force beings. The father, the daughter, and the son. Now, each one is supposed to represent a side of the Force. The son representing the dark side, the daughter representing the light side, and the father to kind of bring balance between the two. At the end of that arc, in the Corvus arc, they all die. But the daughter was reincarnated into an owl that kind of just follows Ahsoka everywhere. And the last time we see Ahsoka in the ending of the Rebels TV show, she's now meeting with Sabine Wren looking for Ezra Bridger. Because as you know, Ezra took Grand Admiral Thrawn with the space whales that kind of originated the hyperspace routes, and they took him into the unknown region, and we don't know what happened to him then. So I have a feeling that's where the Ahsoka series is going to go, and she's going to look for Ezra Bridger and try to bring him back, and eventually bring him back to Sabine and everyone else. So now all day has gone by, so now it's nighttime. So Ahsoka is kind of not talking to Baby Yoda, but she is kind of communicating with him through the Force, right? Because I have a feeling we're never going to hear Baby Yoda speak, because we don't know if they're going to speak. He's going to speak backwards like Yoda does. Believe me, you will, right? We don't know that. So it is kind of up for interpretation right now. I have a feeling we're never truly going to hear Baby Yoda speak for the duration of The Mandalorian, for however long it goes. But it is kind of like up in the air of what's going to happen. So Mando is like, well, what did you learn? Like, well, Grogu and I had a great conversation. Grogu, and he's kind of confused. And then you see Baby Yoda or Grogu would just kind of look up like, hey, you finally got my name right. Right? And it was actually super awesome to see. And she's like, oh, well, and this is where we get his backstory. Apparently, Grogu was born in the Jedi Temple. So this raises a lot more questions than it does give us answers. Like, who is the parents of Grogu? And he was being trained by many masters. So it is safe to assume that Yaddle and Yoda had both trained Grogu, right? Because he's a little bit older, and you have 50 years to kind of really keep in touch with what's going on. So he was probably really young when he was being trained. And the cool thing about it was that at the same time Grogu was born, Anakin Skywalker had come to the temple. So both him and Anakin and Grogu are around the same age. So he's probably in his mid-50s by now at this point in time, because at this point it's probably 6 years after the fall of the Empire, after Episode 6. So the cool thing about it is that we get a little bit of a backstory, and we don't understand if Baby Yoda was born through Yoda or anything else like that. And also just proves that Baby Yoda is a clone. So he was a natural born baby. And which is kind of interesting, is it Yoda's son? And yeah, Yaddle and Yoda's son. So I know that Ki-Adi-Mundi, another member of the Jedi Council, was allowed to have several wives because his race was going extinct. So it could be that Yaddle and Yoda both were going extinct in their species. So it is safe to assume that, maybe they also, were trying to keep the baby alive, or keep their species alive by having Grogu. So that is one thing that could be possible here to kind of understand a little bit. The next thing that we kind of figure out is, well, where was he during, the rise of the Empire? So this is where Ahsoka kind of gets into the history of him a little bit. So he was alive, he was being trained by Jedi Masters, right? We know this. What next is that during the attack on the temple, his memory goes dark. Like, we don't know who picked him up. Somebody had saved him. We don't know who. Maybe it was Mace Windu if he survived and went to go get him, or maybe the Emperor found him at the Jedi Temple and kind of kept him hidden for his genetic projects to kind of keep it all going. But we don't know this. What we do know is that there was a period of time during the rise of the Empire that he has no memory of. And the only thing he really remembers now is that Mando found him. And this is where the next day kind of goes, and she's like, well, you know what, tomorrow we'll test him, it's late. So what Ahsoka does is use a pebble to kind of have Grogu kind of pass it back to her, or use the Force. So she couldn't get him to do it, so he asked Mando to try. He's like, come on, kid, Grogu. And that was actually kind of like a fun little part here, excuse me, that we see Mando trying to get everything settled. He's like, all right, Grogu, try to get the pebble. And he's like, no, he's stubborn. So he's like, you need to connect with him, because you understand that they have a father-son kind of bond. Oh, excuse me, I'm burping a lot today. They have a father and son bond. So he pulls out the little knob that he took off the ship, right? And he's like, all right, Goku, you want this? This is what you want? And then he uses the Force to grab it. And Ahsoka sees this and senses something. And this is where we get a lot of views from the dogmatic views of the Jedi, right? And this is the same kind of problem that they had with Anakin. And let me explain what I mean by that, is that the reason the Jedi didn't initially want to train Anakin was because he had too many attachments already, right? And he would be led to the path of the dark side with his fear and his anger and everything else like that. Ahsoka comes up and says, I cannot train him. And Mando's like, why? What the hell? Like, what's going on here? I need to have you train him. He's like, well, his abilities are, I sense much fear in him, right? And he has grown attached to you as if he's your son, right? So this is where you see where Ahsoka has the views of the Jedi, like attachment is bad, right? So you can have these attachments because you are going to be susceptible to the dark side of the Force and be manipulated like Anakin was. So we see that she doesn't want to kind of do this with him, and he doesn't really kind of take it. So he goes and gets everything settled. So Ahsoka doesn't want to train him initially, but Mando's like, look, I need you to train him. And he's like, the Magistrate wants me to kill you and offered me Beskar steel. Right? So I didn't agree to anything. But if I can help you liberate the town, will you train him? And Ahsoka agrees. So, which was really cool, was like a Mandalorian and a Jedi working together. They'll never see it coming. Which comes to the climax of the episode, and this is where the level of badassery went to a whole new level, right? And you see Ahsoka kind of walk up, and all the guards are like, oh my god, here she comes, here she comes, here she comes. So you just see Ahsoka they ring the bell, and Ahsoka jumps up onto the ledge, well not the ledge, but like the gate where they have everything, and starts cutting everybody down and slices the, slices the bell and kind of moves forward with everything. And as she's liberating everyone in town, really pretty much waking her way through all the way to the Magistrate, all the way to her gate, you see that she walks in